We'll see how this holds up.
Okay.
All right, so welcome to Granblue Radio. This is number 178. Uh, what did I call this one? I called this one the difference between fun and good. So we'll go-
That's probably accurate.
we're gonna be talking about this one a lot. All right. So the main thing, there are two things that have happened since last week. But before we get into them, thank you for joining us on Granblue Radio. This is Vibrating Sheep, as always, and I am joined by.
Well, I'm always DJ, so
Yeah, but now you're DJ of the Seattle Free Zone.
I don't live in that area.
Just, just claim it, man. Just claim it.
I can't if I don't live there. It's a nice place now. Anyways,
All right. So, two things have happened since last week. Like I said, we got ourselves a rebalance, and we've got ourselves. Oh, so the rebalance is great just because on the day of the rebalance, like, there's just so many little bugs that have to be fixed because they're like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Like, my favorite bug fix notes of almost all time in Grand Blue Fantasy. Did you see this one, DJ? So
I did not, but I'm looking at it right now. That's pretty funny.
so because they updated Magisa to give her fire version melee spec, they were like, okay, this is fine, this is easy. She apparently lost melee spec when Morax was summoned, and then the status effect sharp boost to attack for Three Tigers Blessing, her ultimate, by the way, which makes her CA do like gajillions of damage, was a debuff and could be claritied. Oops.
That- Oops. Look, it's these things in the behind in like the coding.
Oh man, coding is hilarious. Coding is tough.
Coding's hard.
Coding's very hard. And honestly, it's a credit to them that they can fix it this fast.
And all right.
Okay, so let's go back to it. So we've got ourselves a maintenance that just concluded, and in this update, we've got ourselves. Oh, that was one of the bug fixes. Here's the actual list of everything. So we're gonna skip over Pride of the Ascendant for now because we're gonna talk about that at the end. I've done Proud. Have you done Proud yet?
I have not because I'm lazy.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll be probably bashing my face into Proud Plus at some point. We'll figure out a time. I keep saying that I'm gonna do it, and then I don't know. The only one that I did on time was the Great Wall, and by the only one, I mean this is the third one. So anyway,
I haven't finished any of the Proud Pluses of any of them yet.
the most frustrating one to me is
Gilbert.
Gilbert because Gilbert is completely like controllable until the last phase, and then the last phase you are just crying the entire time. Like,
Your debuffs aren't hitting. You don't have enough permanent debuffs.
yeah, and then
What
the
else is
thing
on
is
this
that
list?
it wastes 15 minutes of your life if you wipe at that point. Like the Great Wall, like you can tell when you're not gonna be able to beat the Great Wall. You know, like it doesn't put you
Mhm.
into this death spiral only in the last 15 minutes. Anyway, so instead we're gonna be talking about these character adjustments and how they actually played out. Like we've tested a bunch of these. We had our opinions last week, and now that I've played with a bunch of these characters, I don't have some of them, and I also don't have an interest in certain other ones. Like, we could talk about the numbers, but we can also talk about what the difference is between a fun update and a good update. So, you want to start with Antheria?
Sure. I just have to find her in my notes.
Okay.
Uh, so I didn't actually have much of my notes about it other than how her stacks go, really.
So,
Like,
the things that I wanted to talk about with the Antheria is like she got one of those ones that is immediately jumping out at you as good, but how good it is outside of a very specific combo is kind of underrated in some ways, right? Where
mhm.
um, everybody has gone to Antheria and gone. You should pair her with the new Aoidos. It's insane. And
Pretty good actually. Like, what's the longest timer you've seen on hype for?
someone did it in trial battle so that the thing wouldn't end, and they got it up into the triple digits.
I see.
Now, what happened with the triple digits thing? Um, do you remember way back in the dark days of the Haruta era when Core were released. And
Yes.
one of the things that made people like just realize how disgusting she was for that era of Granblue Fantasy was they're just like these buffs are infinite. They just never
Uh huh.
go away. Like
I remember that. People were selling Baja HL at the time.
I don't think Baja HO. I forget what they were soloing, but the point is that like we've entered into that was many eras of Granblue Fantasy ago, and now like if you have a very specific combination, then what happens is that you get infinite hype. So Alidos extends it by 2 turns. If she's in quick tap while she is and she dodges, she extends it further. So what you can do with that specific combination lasts forever.
Yeah,
Um,
and Hype 4 is pretty good as a buff.
Double attack. It's because there's Alidos in there. You have was it 20%, 25%? I have to look up Alidos again. One moment. It is a 25% chaser, which doesn't stack with the Soul Remnant, which makes me a little bit sad, but we'll figure it out.
Don't forget also the defense buff.
Yeah, yeah. The defense buff is what 40%. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Um, yeah. There's a lot of things going on that contribute to make Enthuria really good in that combination. Outside of that combination, her hype generation is actually pretty
Oh, I don't
sad.
use it for I don't use it for hype generation
Yeah.
at
So,
all if I don't have Alidos.
hmm and those two are pretty much the only sources of hype, right? Or you have Mugen. Does he hype you? I forget.
Nope.
He doesn't. Okay.
Nope.
The many, many long lists of buffs that he gives you, hype is not on there. Got it.
Nah. Oh, hype on Fridays. Get hype. It's Friday right now, technically.
So anyway, so people are having a lot of fun with that effect, and then outside of that specific combo, she has a lot of like useful defensive things where she can give herself hostility and other self, and
And
she
dodge
can
for 3
activate it on
turns.
command with the captivation. So, she's very useful defensively for, well, Harp, she's the defensive character for Harp. For Melee, she's one of a long list of defensive characters who are good in Fist.
I'm just lasting my life forever in Fire Fist.
Yeah, like you got Frau to heal yourself. You got Skathaha if you manage to roll her in Valentine's. But anyway, so like she's good outside of it, but there's nothing exciting necessarily until a character like this. Until you have a regular method of just bringing all of the heat onto yourself, dodging it all, and then doing something like say Tanya, or we'll get to Narmea in a second. Then it's not necessarily that impressive. Like it's good, but people aren't really like seeing how well that can go. Like I brought her to Grimnir recently, and she does pretty well against Grimnir, but she's not really a full auto character. You really want to save her skills if you're not AoE dosing, and you know
Nah, just let it go.
yeah.
I just let it rock, and I just don't die.
But in Grimnir specifically, she can just explode sometimes. It's like, oh, oops.
There's only one thing that could explode her is that it's at 90%.
I exploded her. Her death point for me was 40% because I just didn't happen to line up the other self with the Grimnir many hit trigger because it was full
To
auto.
be fair, I'm also running defensive grid,
hmm
so
So I was just testing that out, and it's good, but it's not super exciting outside of that. All right. So anything else to say about
uh,
Etheria?
did you see how much he stacks up with each of her attack and defense.
It's what is it? 10% defense each stack while you're in the alluring step or silent tap. I mean.
Yeah, and then it's also 10% for attack if you're in the other one,
Hmm.
and it goes up to 50%.
Yeah, and then the thing is that so you compare the step change to Drang and to Sturm, and they have some pretty wild effects on dodge for themselves or on CA. For her, it's pretty much just on dodge, and so you don't really have as much control over it except for this hostility here, and the uptime being
I
3 turns. Like I said, it didn't line up great for me, and sometimes it just blew her up.
Well, the other thing is that it casts when she CAs now too,
Hmm.
so if you're actually paying attention, you can actually just control that as
It's
well.
true. So yeah, when you're playing her in manual, then there's a lot you can do to just control aggro, to bring stuff onto herself and have her dodge it all and stuff like that, and that's really good. You just don't get the hype part from just her solo. You need Aoidos for her to actually maintain this hype.
Hmm. I don't know. I like the changes regardless of anything.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so Percival.
Oh, okay. So my notes in here was, his skill one, his heal goes from 800 to 2,000.
And it casts twice, so he can heal himself for 4,000 now. That's not
It's not
nothing.
bad.
Um, the delay makes him a lot more useful, but like the kingly aura and the Hellfire Crest change to him. Like
It, I.
I don't know, he builds crests really slowly
Hmm.
because that skill one is still on a really long cooldown, even if it casts twice. Um, and then like just this last skill. So you cast at the beginning of the fight. You know, you get like the one crest bonus, right? Unless you're specifically bringing people to
Give
give him
him
turn one
stress.
crests, and there's
Hey, there's a summon for that.
there is.
You can summon turn
And
one.
hey, Surtur is going to be getting a 4-star soon. But like at so let's just say you have two crests on turn one, right?
Okay.
He gets debuff success boosted. That's a thumbs up. It means that his petrify is going to hit. Well, it's almost guaranteed to hit the first time anyway, but let's ignore that.
Okay.
Then he gets 200. Sorry, not 200%. 100% double attack, and it's like, okay,
Thanks.
the 30% triple attack's nice, but you have to wait until like turn 7 to get that.
Turn six.
It's a long time to get some triple attack. Like, and then when you get to the five crests, you're like, all right, now I have Keen. That's great. But
Well, one of the things is that these are just additional things that he
a
got
long,
because remember before he also only got the fire attack up
yeah. And now he also
for
gets
filter.
the fire. He always gets the chaser, and the lowered downtime on that is not. It's great. I'm not gonna knock that one, but I don't know.
Hmm.
Like he he didn't break into my teams based on this change. Like if you like Percival, then there is more reason to run him, and then more power to that. But like this is a good change, but it's not really a fun change. It feels like to me
That's fair.
because, like I said, like the Hellfire crests, like the payoff for jumping through all of these hoops to get through Hellfire crests, like it takes you until 5 crests to get Keen, and that takes a long time. And at that point, like the Petrify has lost effectiveness, and then the delay is still good, but delay is good but not exciting. If you want an exciting delay character in Fire, specifically Fire Sword, let me point you to Sturm. She's really good, and she dodges a
Look,
lot.
she's that character's not fair because that's a limited.
Sure, that is important, but she's also a non 5-star limited versus a 5-star. So five stars and then non 5-star limiteds are relatively like close in power level. I feel like,
Hmm.
and so I don't feel the fun with Percival. Uh,
he didn't break into my team either,
yeah,
so
it's unfortunate.
I can't blame you.
It's unfortunate. I like this character.
Uh, Something nice is that apparently his second passive ideal vassals is on unique modifier instead of normal modifier now. Helps a little
It
bit.
does. Like he's going to hit hard. He's always hit hard.
That was like his main
Hmm.
gimmick.
Well,
He just
after
did a
fear,
lot in fear.
it's like he feared somebody and then he did a lot of damage, and they let him do that. But the doing a lot of damage in an element like fire, where everyone does a lot of damage now, is hard to justify, especially since
I,
well, go ahead.
I'm just thinking of the old joke back in 2016 of fire does no damage.
Hmm.
Now look where we're
Look
at.
where we're at. But once again, going back to Alidos, that guy gives your entire team 25% chaser with close to 100% uptime, and he doesn't require nearly as much build up as Percival does.
Yeah, that's
It
unfortunate.
is unfortunate. All right. Water Narmea, you ready for this one?
I need some help on that one because I if the numbers are wrong from the wiki that they updated to like
Hmm.
today, it feels really weird.
So this character actually is fun, and the payoff is there. I'm feeling the payoff for this. The one thing that
Hmm.
I thought was going to be cool, but we were nervous about, is in fact not very cool. So
Oh, the
the
dodge.
dodge.
All right, so remember last radio where I was talking about she doesn't have a way to give hostility to herself, so unlike Tanya. Well, the problem is that is correct. She still has no way to give herself
So
hostility to
I
dodge.
was running an experimental team where I was just like, all right, I'm gonna run Narmea, I'm gonna run Drang, I'm gonna run a prototype of what I would have brought to Beelzebub as water.
That was one of your previous broadcasts this
It
week,
was, and I was just like, I'm just going to
and
try this out. And the thing that I found out with
was that drink's
was
really
that
good?
Drang's really good. I was like, oh,
That's what we that one
because
out.
it's just these two characters do relatively the same thing, where it's like here's a dispel on Narmea, and she gets multi attack up. It's like that's great, but it will, in an element that has Maria Theresa, having a short cooldown skill that will allow you to proc Maria Theresa is satisfying. Being able to
Hmm.
dispel at will, satisfying. But there's so many characters in Water who dispel now, and hers is on what, a 6 turn cooldown?
Concerns.
That's fine, but you're mostly using it for the boost to multi attack rate, and so that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. Um, this
The numbers on that aren't
the big
bad.
payoff is if you hit butterfly effect. So you're trying to do that whole thing where you stack up a lot of auto attack damage on water, and water's grids aren't quite good at supporting that quite yet, unless you're playing the crit grid with the Keen team. Um, and so this one's fine. She gives herself the chaser, and let's see, the numbers on the chaser didn't really change that much.
It didn't change.
Uh, uh she still gets her Narmea classic. It is full uptime, 80% chaser after a certain amount of time. So that's after the 6th turn, I think. Yeah, after 6 turns, she has
Yeah.
permanent 80% chaser. You're like, that's great. I will trade some defense for that. Um, and then this one here, this one's the one where water itself feels like it needs to support her better than she needs to support it. Where because she doesn't have that big boost to attack anymore, like people who own Grand Jean, for example, but have Magna Grids like me, um, that sharp boost, that cap break, you're like, yeah, I can break cap. Turns out I was actually really near the limit of my attack anyway, so breaking the cap doesn't really do that much for me.
Mm.
The crit helps, um, but
But
oh, sorry. They were saying There are some errors in the English translations. Like reckless abandon is not the one that we're supposed to be looking at. It's supposed to be called physical endurance. So
Physical
yeah,
endurance.
here let me just recode this real quick. No, wrong one.
One of the small nice
Hmm.
things is that they buffed the critical on that mental focus.
There we go. Um, yeah, they buffed the crit on mental focus. So the third time she's gonna be hitting really hard.
It's apparently 100% for 100%.
It is. But until then, and the thing is that since this is her signature ability and it's on a 7 turn cooldown, you're getting that on turn 13.
Yeah, yeah. And if the fight lasts that long, she might die. Actually,
Like, and then the whole thing where dodging leads to delay. Like, she has no way to give herself. She has no way to give herself hostility. Two, you only want her to ever get attacked on her true self turns. And three, she has a basically a permanent minus 20% defense, so you really don't want her to get hit in general. Like, you don't want her to get targeted. There's so many better ways to get hit in water. You've got Vayne, you've got Onrey, you've got hell, Anne's decent at it. It's not great. You've got hell, Romeo does it better than she does.
Romeo actually just covers everything.
Yeah. Um, Hosselia and Maria Theresa just prevent tons of damage by existing. You know? And
Yeah,
then water doesn't have exactly any issues with delay given the existences of characters like Macula Marius, Drang, if you have that limited character. There's this character that I know people have had issues with in the past. It's their Eternal, a really screamy like cat boy, Fioer.
yeah, 4.
He does slow a
Yeah.
lot. Whether or not you have control over that slowing, it's a matter of opinion.
From a CA or from skill 1 randomly procking it.
Hmm. But like I don't know. Once again, this is a good but a little bit unfocused rebalance because
I still don't know what they were doing with the delay.
like I was like, okay, I have experience with this effect. It's like dodge turns into a delay. Tanya, she's great at it. Tanya has a button that actually like draws attention to herself.
That also gives her more dodge up.
Hmm. It's a skill that gives her dodge up, which is also important. Or like,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, or Sturm. Does Sturm actually have hostility up anywhere? I know that she's a fire character, so and the joke is that fire always has hostility up. Let me take a look here.
I'm gonna look too.
She's Blitzkrieg activates on dodge. She does not. Okay. Then again, she double delays in general if you actually just want her to delay, which is much more controllable than this. Narmia has no other form of delay. There's no way you can ever actually rely on her to delay something.
Yeah. Remember when this character used to take away her own health?
Yes, in a stamina element. In fact, in the first stamina element.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. I really don't know where they're going, what they're trying to do with her at this point.
Yeah, like
I mean, she hits
it's
hard. That's
it's
cool and all,
improved.
but
Yeah. Did you see that game with up to a 9.5? I'm like, excuse me?
what?
All right. Um, do you want to go back to Aglavale?
Yeah, let's go Aglaville.
I'm
Okay.
going to try and just repeat everything that I said for
First of
first of
all,
all. So
they're brothers.
they're brothers. But the thing is, so water actually has an amazingly easy time getting crests.
Oh, because like all the characters that actually just provide it normally.
Yeah, like they have an easy time getting crests in water. Um, it's not just having the Opus or Lily gives it, but it's on a long cooldown. The premier crest character in water is Cagliostro. who is a limited character, so we're not gonna really bring her into it that much. But it's just like pretty good time getting crests. Pretty bad time using them here. Because what Aglavale gets on them, once again, like, there's so many characters that do something earlier than him and better than him. So until his 5-star, I'm just gonna sort of shrug this one off. Like, he's better.
Okay.
If you like him, he's good.
His pass is better, in my opinion.
His passive is so funny because just like there's so much So about 2 years ago, we started having the problem where like there's too many good characters. We can't run them all on the front line. So one of the solutions was like, all right, we're gonna
Make
take
him back line.
we're gonna take all of these Sebastians out of people's backlines. We're gonna put in characters who have backline effects. And so you have someone like the Evoker Hasilia, who in the back says, just for existing in the back, you get more defense and attack up, sure, but mostly you run her for the defense.
Mostly the defense.
Maria Teresa is just like every time you dispel, I lumberjack something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then even in like Water Sword, which is not necessarily like the strongest team, right? Like if you don't have Catalina, then there's less competition than there is for freaking Fire Sword, because Fire Sword has a long list of disgustingly good characters
Who are also, yeah.
who are good on either offense, defense, or both. Water Sword, you have like, okay, Lancelot's really good. Lancelot's a great tank.
After his rework, yes.
After his rework, he's great. Catalina's good. UL is no longer a sword character, so we have to ignore her for now.
Get rid of her.
Romeo's decent. He's not great. Like he's not as good at sustained fights as like the first two characters. Maria Teresa is sword. She's really good. She's really good at long fights too. Um, and then anyway, so let's go through this. So Deluge Crests, he has an easier time building them up, and then your payoff is actually a lot stronger than Percival's, in my opinion. So the payoff for which one is it? Schneeschreiben.
His skill 3.
Yeah, I probably massacred that. But all of the payoffs are defensive for him. So at 1 crest, which is the easiest to get, 50% defense up. We've talked about how good defense up is these days.
Great, that's pretty good.
On the second one, he gives himself Revitalize in a stamina element. And hey, he actually has good things to use with meter.
It also heals 1,000 each time if he's not getting meter.
Yeah, 1,000 Revitalize is really good. Your standard is 500. It's only to himself, but oh well. On 3, he gets a personal veil. That's really good. On 4, he gets 90% fire cut to himself. He has no way to bring hate onto himself though, so
Yeah.
I mean it lasts 3 turns though. So it's like
He living.
and then
You know what? You can extend
yeah,
that.
and then at 5 he gets Dispel Cancel for himself. That's great. If you don't have Catalina, then that's great. Being able to keep your buffs against a dispelling boss is actually really good.
As we look at Ultimate Baja.
Ultimate Baja, just like your standard Night and Fight boss tries to dispel you these days.
Yeah, you're right.
Whenever Beelzebub tries to, I think it's when he kicks you on your dome, he tries to dispel all of your buffs. Phosphorus from Lucilius tries to take all of your buffs. So yeah, being able to just have that on a 6-turn cooldown for yourself is nice. His chain burst leading to water attack, right, is kind of weird because there's just so many ways to get water attack up now.
Especially in water.
Mm-hmm.
With their just characters having on CA.
Characters There's multiple good characters who have it on CA. I keep coming back to Lily because she's very accessible and
Yeah, that's the thing.
disgustingly
She's a
good.
very. You can just get her at any time when there's a soup ticket. She's not limited. She's just really
She's just
good.
really good. And anyway, so this is a character who's basically waiting for his 5-star, and then we'll see what happens to him there. As it is, popular character. Um, you won't be embarrassed of running him. Just there's just so many good defensive options in his own combination of element and weapon.
Yeah, but you know what? He's living.
Yeah. But also like he is one of the better attackers in Water Sword. If you don't have Sandalphon or something like that. We're not. Once again, we're trying not to compare these to that many limited characters, unless these limited characters are super old.
Limited characters are cheating. Let's be
But some of
honest.
them are also really old, and we get so many free rolls that it's pretty rare for people who've been playing for a while not to have them for certain characters.
Uh, you know I still don't have Eugen.
I actually do know that, and I know that who was it who evaded me for the freaking longest time? It was what
Lena.
was that? No, it was
I
Rosetta.
know
It
Lena
was
was
actually Rosetta. I didn't have Rosetta for like 3 years after her release. I didn't have her until this year.
ah.
Anyway, anything else to say about Aglavale?
No, not really.
All right, 3-0. This is the big one where people are yelling about the difference between fun and good.
Oh man, I hate listening to people talk about this character just because they're all most of them just denounce her without actually looking at like this kits.
Okay, so we were talking about this last week, where when Threo was working in her old form, like it was a minor buff, but they worked. However, you had to see a perfectly in rhythm every like exactly 4 or 5 turns. If you were
Or
CAing every 3 turns or something, God forbid that you like triple attack and summon this Uriel summon or something like that, or get extra meter from uh, the number 8. Um, then it would go out of sync and they would just lose her buffs.
and she has to start with Axe. That's the problem. She has to start her boss off in that certain pattern.
And then so they made her skills better, but they made her it feels not quite as
Powerful.
I wouldn't say not quite as powerful. I would say not quite as gratifying. Like we were
Mm.
talking about this last week once again, where you want to wait until sword mode, right? Because the dodge tank encounter, by the way, very effective, 100% hostility, and so point of mechanical order here. So the difference between substitute and 100% hostility is that when you have 100% hostility, when you die during a big attack that has multiple hits, then after 100% hostility, it goes, oh, there's no one to hit anymore, and it moves around. With substitute, it keeps going. With her hostility and the fact that she doesn't die, then it basically becomes a substitute until she's run out of undying charges.
So on her fourth life.
On her fourth life, then this stops being just like suck up all the damage and live through it at one. That's pretty good. And then after that, she'll if you use it with the drain, then she heals herself for 10,000. That's good, but
It's actually pretty
it is
nice.
pretty
I
nice.
kind of like
The
that.
problem is then you're 6 turns away from using sword, which seems like the actual combo that people want to use. And so the signature thing for her, she doesn't have that much triple attack support outside of her 1 turn buff now. And if you're playing Earth, um, your multi attack is from like Fandango for triple attack, and
And that's really small.
uh, uh,
Is it actually worse than Trium?
uh, like that's pretty much that source, right? So you're just sort of, you can also main hand the Hollow Sky axe, which isn't
Yeah.
the worst thing. Like it stacks up pretty nicely. It's just that It's still not going to guarantee her triple attacking, is the problem. And so a lot of the time, like this new passive that she has, which is really strong, by the way, it's still really strong. Um,
Like a 300k a hit on
300k
the third
extra hit
hit.
on the third hit, and she has herself Chaser up here with the amplify normal damage, and then the attack without using a turn, and then you do it. You attack 6 times with supplemental damage on the third hit, guaranteed triple attack, and a chaser. Um, that turn feels really powerful, and then it is 6 turns until you can do it again, which is probably fair. But then you're like, I've used 2 buttons on this, and the defensive end of this thing is gone.
Because it's on
It's
cooldown.
on cooldown. And then they left Ground Zero alone. All right. The
Okay.
way that they changed Ground Zero is that it's no longer a suicide button because of Supernatural. All right.
But it'll still leave her at really no health.
That sometimes can be a good thing. I mean, Earth has, if this is a big if you are playing Titan and you have the bandages and the metal, then it's not like that's gonna hurt her. It's just that if you are not and you are reliant on stamina because you're 3 Magna Axes, then it feels bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's still gonna do tons of damage even at 1 health, but yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the drain should have been more than just one turn. I feel.
And once again, like this is the character still does tons of damage. When you 5-star her and she does that extra 2 million pure damage in sword form, but then again, it once again requires sword form. There's I don't know. There's a lot of delayed payoffs with the current design of 3.0 now, and it doesn't feel quite right to a lot of people. Even though it is objectively strong, the downtimes make people pretty sad.
Yeah. And the fact that your mode change is still limited to CAing,
And
which they got rid of this for a lot of old
and the
characters.
thing, yeah, like Uisis used to have to do that, didn't she?
It was
It was
horrible.
horrible. And the thing is that Threo has no way of generating her own meter except when you double triple attack on the sword turn. So
Or her ultimate, and her ultimate only lasts
4 turns.
so long.
And so like when it comes to this, um, it's like okay, it's like you've made congratulations, you've suffered through axe mode. Um, you can this tank the 100% hostility. If she takes a ton of damage that turn, she's gonna gain a ton of meter, and then she's gonna counter 3 times, and she's gonna gain meter and health off of that. And then you're like, yes, I'm in sword mode. It is 6 turns until sword mode means anything.
Because of my cooldowns.
And then you're like, yes, I'm in sword mode. Um, I can now press these 2 buttons together and gain 74 meter. Very good. You can do a gajillion damage on that turn. And then you're like, yes, I am already back out of sword mode into axe mode.
And I can't generate meter right now.
Yeah, and so like it's an improved design over her old form. Like I
I
said,
mean, skill 2 was garbage. You never used it.
her skill 2 was so bad, and her skill 1 was annoying. But now like they've just sort of given it this design that has a lot of downtime, and so it's good. I've said this like 8 times already. It's just that it doesn't quite feel fun yet. Like it's really strong,
Hmm.
but it doesn't solve any of her problems. Like it replaced her problems with different and less egregious ones, but still problems. How about that?
You still just want to be in sword form.
Yeah, it's like I just want her to actually be a berserker because all of these characters are based on an MC class and they're supposed to be like the ultimate form of that class, right? And she's supposed to be a berserker. The signature
No,
skill of being a berserker is to put your meter up to 100, and she doesn't get that until turn
correct.
10.
You know what other thing the berserkers do now too?
They automatically triple attack with chaser.
Exactly.
Thanks, Ulfedin, or however you say it. All right.
But she, oh yeah. it's a step.
It.
It's definitely a step.
Hmm. But yeah, they're they're stepping in the right direction. I really hope that it doesn't take us. It doesn't require 6 star for her to reach a point where she's really fun, right?
Because otherwise most people just use her for skill 3 and that's it.
I mean, there's a reason that she and Tien have the most EMP on my team because she just hits the grab zero button and I move on with my life.
Next Arcarum area.
Yeah. All right. So that's the long and the short of the trio. Like I'm not gonna crap on this character for being bad. It's like she's far from being bad. I'm just sad that she's not fun.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all right. So Valentine's Medusa.
Oh, I actually like the changes for this one, actually.
So she no longer has a very minor cap up on her nuke when it happens on somebody with what was it, Magical Medusiana stacks? Was it called?
It was poison. If they were
If they were
poisoned.
poisoned, okay. So now you can. Now
It,
this character just spams nukes everywhere.
yeah, so they lowered their number from skill 2 from being 630k base to 400k base.
Okay.
But that doesn't matter because how much time she's casting
Yeah, the
this?
triple cast.
Yeah. And also casting it when she CAs and casting it when she gets CA'd. And hey, look, she's making the foe CA because of her skill 3.
Hmm. So the thing is that the old version of Medusa, for Valentine's Medusa, like I was saying this last time again, is that she was a one-cycle character. You used her exactly once, and then her skills were down forever, and you're like, I wish this character wasn't here anymore. Because she would give your entire team 50 meter, and you're like, yes, this is all the meter I need. And then you blew that, and then hopefully the fight was over. Because if the fight wasn't over at that point, you're like, Medusa doesn't do anything anymore. Like this is a 9 turn
Oh,
cooldown on eyes only for you. It's still a 9 turn cooldown on eyes only for you, but the rest of her kit is way better. So I'm happy about that part.
yeah, so they got rid of her CA doing scared stiff or stared stiff, that's what it's called.
Hmm.
Which is fine because just hit skill 1 and you have more control over when you want to use
Hmm.
it. It's so skill 1 still takes 20 meter, but I don't know.
20 meter isn't
I don't
that
know why
much,
it does.
honestly.
It's a pretty good debuff though, so
Hmm. That's pretty much all I have to say about Medusa. Like she's a much more fun character now. Like she doesn't have
yeah.
that, like I said, 9 turn dead time where you're just like, I wish this character wasn't here. Like there's actually things that you do in between that justify her existence on your team and on your front line. Does the triple cast happen on the CA cast? Well, DJ, I'm pretty sure.
I haven't tested
I
it yet
personally am pretty sure it does.
because it says activate the skill
Hmm.
2. So,
And for example, when Lancelot passively casts his whatever his skill one is called, it will double cast.
yeah, that's true. It does.
So.
Oh yeah. So fun things is that they made. So I told you this the other
Hmm.
night, where in order to reach where your passive one hits the same as it used to when the foe was poisoned, you only have to cast the second skill twice,
Hmm.
and then past that it goes up to 140% CA damage and 35% CA cap when you have max stats. And I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Like I like this design. Once again, it's rewarding. It lowers the amount of dead time that you have. Like it doesn't make you just sad this character exists on your front line. And unlike certain characters who do that, Shoda, there's no natural method for you to actually get her out of your front line in order to just bring in another character who doesn't have that 9 turn like dead time. And so I like it. Um, Gawain. So most of what they did to Gawain made him just modernized. Um, Nothing like super exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, there was a typo in this earlier. You said the debuff success rate Well, it was called the miss rate for the hit to attack effect has been increased. People are like, excuse us, and so they changed this to debuff success. That's what it actually
Okay,
means.
cool.
Um,
That's skill 1,
that
right?
is skill one.
Roger.
It's
Yeah.
all of this very solid. Like some of this was just pathetic. You're like, why would I ever bring this character for a shield when it was a 500 shield? It's like now it's a 1500 shield.
And skill 2. So the thing is, so they made his skill 2 1.16 million. That's what it used to be
Entire
when your
team,
entire team was at 1
yeah.
HP.
So you no longer have to murder yourself in order to get rebellion. And then also they made it so that he actually gives himself jammed and he does the whole thing where he eats his own health to do it, which is a much more common, much more modern thing to do. We've got like Uisis, who is the most extreme version of that. We've got like various versions of Beatrix who do that. It's just an existing solid effect.
Also, it works in great with his new passive, which is actually just Black Knight's
Yeah.
passive.
He doesn't tank for anybody, unlike Black Knight, and he doesn't like auto cast anything like that. But we're not we don't want to compare him directly to a limited character. Once again, like he's solid. Um, Noblesse oblige, boost 100% debuff resistance. That's actually
That's
amazing.
really
It's
good.
so good.
It's it's resistance, not veil. That's a big difference
hmm
too, because there are times where veil doesn't work.
And resistance does. Yeah. And
Exactly.
so like this character is not necessarily going to blow you away. He never was meant to blow you away. However, they've taken him from embarrassing to solid. And
Yeah,
for a character like Gawain, I'm actually okay with that. Like,
I might actually use him
yeah,
now.
this right here, the boosted debuff resistance, is actually one of those things that sort of gets the mind going. It's like, what can I cheese through with that? It's just like being able to zero damage triggers. You're just like, what can I BS my way through with this? But yeah, once again, his downtimes are still pretty much the same.
At least Noblesse Oblige is literally
hmm
failings, but
Yeah,
better.
five.
Actually, it's actually better failings.
Well, better failings for solo purposes, but yeah,
Yeah.
like this character, as mentioned in chat, like you can bring him to proud mode. Like he is actually a good defensive character uh, in an
hmm
element full of good defensive characters, but a lot of those are actually very difficult to come by. Like people are like, oh yeah, don't you have monkeys? Like no, no I don't.
No.
It's like oh, well, what about Grimnir? It's like I don't have Grimnir either. What about Valentine's Grimnir? No. So
Like I might actually take this character to fighting the Earth Dragon. Now I think about it.
yeah, uh, yeah, I would actually be okay bringing this character to Galleon because guess what? Galleon has an every 5 turns AOE trigger. Guess what happens? It's like this
You
character
get
could totally
debuffed.
be good at that. Um, there's just a lot more room to work with for Gawain, which is
hmm
good. On the Carmelina? Question mark.
Sure. Let's do that.
So Carmelina's been redesigned like 18 times at this point. Um, but the hit to defense and the hit to multi attack rate, the debuff for hit to defense was 10%, which is just sad.
Now it's
It's
15.
15.
It's
It's there.
not. It's still not great,
Still not
but
great.
it's there.
But we were saying hit to multi attack. Um, it's bad in the early game, and then as the further you get in the game, you're just like, I need this.
Please stop. Please stop triple
Please stop
attacking
triple
me.
attacking me. My children need a parent. Hit to debuff resistance, wind damage, like it's fine. Um, when she has a mirror image, boost to attack spec. So
So here's the thing about mirror
mhm,
image. If you get attacked, if the foe doesn't use a CA, they just normally attack you. It's gonna
yeah,
fall
and
off.
it's only so the thing is, it's also only 30% attack. It's unique, sure, and it's 30% to double
Sure, but
attack, and it's just like so. This is kind of a nothing change here. Boost to CA damage and CA cap based on debuffs. Um,
Up to 10 debuffs, it's like 60% CA, 30%
that's
cap.
actually really good. Like, I'm not gonna make fun of that
Yeah.
one.
And she's dagger spec, isn't she?
Yes.
So you put that nice little dagger right there.
Yeah.
Or actually,
And
it's a
hey, you
dark
know
sword
what?
technically, but you
You
know what I
know
mean.
what? You know what the nice thing is? She actually doesn't really overlap that much with Urius.
Because Yuri's debuffs are way different.
Yeah. Um. So I'm not excited, but this is also a beginner character too.
Oh yeah, you're able to get her in the
Yeah.
beginner ticket that
You have a
the game gives you from
16%
bingo.
chance to start the game with this character, and she'll help keep you alive. So good on her.
Yeah.
This one's good. It's not necessarily that fun, but it's solid. And I think that's actually where they were aiming with this character. Because remember, she used to be awful.
Yeah, 10% gravity. Yeah.
But yeah, like this character is very solid. Like you can just use her, and she works. Anything else to say, or should we move on to what was
That's
that?
about it.
All
That's
right,
about it for her.
De La Fee, who's getting a 5-star this month. Um, so they gave her. Whoop, go
So
ahead.
they changed the skill one from being dodge encounter for like 3 times for a certain amount of turns to giving you and also giving a 20% chaser to 4,000 shield and chaser that's 30%. I actually like
Yeah, I
that.
like this change. They made her um, regeneration skill actually heal.
So I mentioned this earlier. It's like, hey, remember those heal nodes that you have? They can actually be used now.
Yeah,
Because the thing is that when you are using
refresh and revitalize.
refresh or revitalize, when you have those heal nodes, it only affects that
Hmm.
character. There is no point of actually grabbing those nodes for
Until
her.
now. And then
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this one on hold until we get to her 5-star. But this one better. That's all there is to say about that one.
Yeah, they increased the her light defense down from 10 to
Hmm.
15, gave it 10% dark attack down. Oh yeah, her passive's pretty nice
How
actually.
much debuff resist does she get with this shield? That's
100.
pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
She's just immune to debuffs while she has a shield on. That's pretty good.
Oh, she gives herself a shield.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So this character has potential, but
Yeah, I really want to see what they
yeah.
give her a
Once
five
this
star
five
then.
star is when we get to judge this rebalance. It's like how Alidos was rebalanced on the same day. It's same with Zeta actually, as his 5-star. Um, so I'm kind of curious why they just chose to make DLF part of this cycle of 12, 2 per element, instead of just saying like with Alidos and Zeta. It's like, the 5-star's coming, just drop it, just give them the rebalance.
I mean, Aradus and Zeta were part of
Mm-hmm.
an event, so I
Who's
guess
to
that's
say
the
DLF
reasoning.
isn't? Anyway,
I remember her first event that she appeared
it's
in.
true. As opposed to that is a reminder that Vazaraga also got his rebalance before 5-star out of cycle. Um,
Mhm.
all right, Sarawel. So Sarawel once again was a character. So this character didn't have that much of a downtime. However, his the thing that you did in his turns where he didn't veil. So you had 7 turn downtime on veil. Was it 8? It's 8. You had a downtime on his ability to give meter to your entire team, and yeah, it was 6 turn. Every 6 turns, he would give you 20 meter, as opposed to other characters who can give you 30 meter every 7 turns. Um, anyway, like they tried to change quick raid so that it actually rewarded you for pressing the button every time, and that just didn't work. So now they've done to him.
I mean, it was cool.
So he gets a passive one right there. He just casts his own quick raid for you. Hmm.
Every three
They
turns.
gave him Christmas Sarawell support skill. So it's 10% and 5% just for existing and not being debuffed, which is very easy to do when this is a character with Veil. They gave
Hmm.
him the Vera thing where he deals triple attacks for 2 turns when he does Veil. So 2 out of 8 for a guaranteed triple attack.
So I actually had to go look back on the notes of what he used to do for his upgrades back before we
It
had
was
this rebalance
double attack up on Veil, wasn't it?
for
Yeah.
like 3 turns. But the thing is, it was like question before 75 questionable amount 75 90% DA, and then 100 was 100% DA.
Oh boy.
So instead they changed it, and so they gave his Veil an extra turn, and then it goes back to its old turn back at
Hmm. So
75.
that's a nothing change, honestly. Um,
Yeah.
but once again, so I've been talking a lot about downtime, and so his downtimes are actually longer because his skill 1 is now 6 turns, and it does have a defensive utility to it. Um,
Because it rewards you 25% attack down and 10%
and
dark
remember that
attack
those are
down.
separate, which is great.
Correct.
Um, and so he got better. He's still pretty vanilla, but I mean, if you wanted to get rid of debuffs and you don't have the Eternal who does that yet, it's him and it's 11 Sisters and a few others, but I'm not going to talk about Sophia. But anyway, like there's there's more of a reason to use him than 11 Sisters now because 11 Sisters have like the shortest downtimes possible because they just have a 3 turn cooldown on their signature skills. It's like you can just press that and then feel free. It's like, oh yeah, this is gonna come back up again. And now Sarawell has a better idea of what to do with them. One thing that I find a little off. So I talk a lot about the
Yeah.
openings of a lot of characters. So if you open a fight with Vera Vale, right? She goes from
Correct.
30 meter to 67 meter, uh, and then she will go down to 17 meter, and then go up another 37 meter, right?
Plus another 10
Oh,
afterwards.
that's right. So she gets to, let's see, 17, 40, 50. She gets to 64% meter on that turn 3, right?
Hmm.
The way that the Sarawell's opening is designed is a little weird in that way. So assume you start with 30 meter, then you hit Regulus
Yeah.
Gloria, and you now have 50 meter, and then you go to 87 meter, and then you overflow a bunch of meter with his next triple attack, and you're a little bit sad. You're like, oh, because in a lot of cases, but with that 87 meter, your entire team is pretty much ready to chain burst anyway, no matter what.
Hmm.
Um, and so it kind of makes his opening a little bit awkward, where you're just like, I have too much meter. Anyway, that's just a personal thing.
I have nothing more to say about
Hmm.
Zero.
All right, I'm just gonna let you talk about Vera. So
Oh,
just
hey,
go.
Veer's great.
I haven't used this character in 3 years.
All right, you used her earlier today, the other day.
I did bring her to Metatron, and then I was just like, oh yeah, Metatron takes too long.
All right, so first thing, CA turn cut. We talked about that. It's pretty cool, especially since her skill 1 is now 4 turn
Hmm.
cooldown. And so she has this magical ability called Onesama, Onesama, Onesama. I think it's just Catalina,
It is.
Catalina, whatever. So it reduces that by another
So
turn.
it's 3 turn cooldown, is what you're saying?
Yeah. And so it's actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good buff too. And a good debuff because it goes up to 30% attack defense stacking. And she also gets 30% attack unique attack and unique
Hmm.
defense up. Her skill 3 is no longer pitiful. It heals for 3,000 instead of 2,000, and it's on a 6 turn cooldown from what 8 turn cooldown.
9. Oh,
I think it
at
was 8
plus.
at
Okay.
upgrade.
Because
Yeah,
it's her skill 3, so
and
it,
also
it
gives
didn't get plus until she was 4 star, right?
I don't
Yeah, it took
remember. Let me
until
look
level
that up.
95 for it to hit plus.
Yeah,
Anyway,
and also gives 4 debuffs. Well, most of the time, only like 2 of these hit, but sometimes. And it's 10% light and dark attack down, and 15% light and dark defense
my
down.
main issue with
That's
Affection Oath is that it takes too long.
the
The
animation
animation takes
itself.
about as long as her CA skip CA.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
fair.
that's a minor quibble.
All right, and so her other thing is so her skill 4 changed slightly. Instead of 15% normal attack while she's in skill 4, she gets 30% unique attack. From 50% defense, she gets
Half
100%
damage,
defense. And from 50% DA, she always DAs at minimum.
which is important. I mean, I compared a bunch of this to what they already have successfully done to Amira, and so they just like, if it works for Amira, why don't we
Mhm.
just give it to Vera?
Yeah. And also the fact that because her CAs are able to cut
Mm-hmm.
her cooldowns, her veil
Mm-hmm.
comes up faster, which is guaranteed triple attack for 2 turns, like we said with
Mm-hmm.
Cyril earlier. And also the fact that she doesn't have 3 dead turns on her skill 4 anymore. Because it was up for 10 turns and it was a 13-turn cooldown.
Yeah,
So you could just keep looping it as long as you get 50 meter at the end of it.
and once again, that's something that Amira can do, and if Amira can do it, and it's not like game destroying, why can't Vera do it?
Yeah.
Anything else?
I love Vera. I don't know what else
I
you want me to
mean,
talk
I
about.
was just wondering. I wanted you to get all of your time for this one because you're the expert.
Oh yeah, and the Catalina passive, by the way, works if Catalina's in the back row too.
Which is good because Dark Catalina is one expensive, and
Not
two not
very
good.
good.
Yeah,
They got rid of her veil, gave her a 3-turn clarity. I forget. It's been a long time since I actually looked at that character, but it's a cool skin.
yeah. It's a really cool skin. Maybe I should use it on my Grand Catalina at some point just to get a change of pace.
All right. So next
It
one should
is.
be Olivia. Olivia is
So,
really cool too.
people are looking at Olivia and going, "All right, so this character." So, number one thing. So we go back through all of these, right? Let's just go all the way through all of these and just make a note of status. So regular Antheria, regular gotcha character, uh, changed to be more in line with her summer limited, which is considered very good, but not necessarily game breaking.
Yes.
Percival, old gotcha 5 star, just buffed. There was nothing really to compare him to. Water Narmea used to be one of the worst summer characters outside of like Danua.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember the joke was Donna's SR was
mhm.
better than her SSR.
And like Narmea is one of the most popular characters in GBF. Like, not well. Okay, I was gonna say it's not even close, but no, there's a lot of characters close to Narmea. Um,
Yeah, at this point,
but
yes.
she was one of the early breakout stars for sure. Um, and while she's nowhere near as good as Christmas Narmea, who came out last year, at least,
That
yeah.
character's insane.
Um, like that character's insane. Dark Narmea got a big a big overhaul and facelift to be working a lot better, and they applied some of that to this version of Narmea. Pretty good, but our standards are really high for limiteds, and she's very good, but nothing crazy. Aglavale, gotcha character,
Hmm.
sure. Thrio, um, Eternal, who you can spend up to 3 gold bricks on. So the standards were very high for her, and it seems like they haven't quite met them while still actually making a good change. Um, Valentine's limited character, and most of the time the Valentine's characters were forgettable, like they were skippable.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, Medusa was like a one cycle character. It was just like you didn't notice if you didn't have her because even if you did have her, you would stop noticing that she existed, and in fact would curse her existence. They've made her much more in line with the character like Valentine's Grimnir or Valentine's Skatha, where they're just always doing something. Gawain, gotcha character. Carmelina, gotcha character who is also one of the most common gotcha characters because number one, she's one of the oldest. Two, she's available in the early ticket. Delafi, same way. So these ones, the baseline was a little bit different because these characters are kind of meant for beginners and to like carry you through the early game. Sarawell, really old SSR regular gotcha. Vera, very old SSR regular gotcha. Olivia is the one on here who's straight up a limited character. Not only a limited character, she was a New Year's release, basically. And the list of New Year's releases is, if you look back for a certain amount of time, it's like Lucio, Shiva, Shalem, Olivia. On that list of four, Lucio what used to be one of the worst of those four. They changed that. Lucio's a monster now.
Lucio is like one of the best light attackers if you're just going forward.
So then Olivia was the one who was falling behind because once again I talk a lot about this where because of how long her cooldowns were, it felt really bad to play as her because you would be like, yeah, Twilight Terror, I can do whatever I want. And then you'd be like, yeah, I CA'd. So after you've pressed that skill 3, you're like, I triple attacked a few times. I have full meter. I CA now. And then I get to double delay you. Nice.
And that double delay took way too long.
And then you're just like, now I'm going to use death to get rid of this character because she's useless. Or she's just going to die to her own passive. And, like, that wasn't really a good state of affairs, so they did this to her. So, her uptime is really high now because they changed Nevermore to, instead of being, what was it before? It was like 3 out of 8?
Let me check my notes. I didn't write it down, but yeah, it was like 3 out of 8.
On. Let's go to this one version of the.
History.
It was 2 out of 7.
That's kind of worse, actually.
That's pretty sad for like a signature ability, right? So anyway, now it just stays up until she takes damage, and she gives herself a shield. So
Not just damage. Damage 3 times.
And, it's an 8-turn cooldown now, but that means you have to take damage 3 times in 8 turns after you have gotten through a 3,000 shield. Notably, it's not that hard for the enemy to break through her 3,000 shield, sure. But, I mean, it gives you a quest, right? It gives you a, like, little sub-quest to fulfill. Protect Olivia, she stays really good forever, right? And admittedly, it's still really hard to protect Olivia because that, what is it? What's the defense down number on her again? It's 30%?
Goes to 30%.
Minus 30% is a lot of defense down.
Look, sometimes you just make it so she's never targeted by an enemy.
So, like, pick up the delay, the double delay. The skill cooldown is now 6 turns. That's amazing because, yeah, you don't have to wait multiple turns and then cast it. And then you're just like, now by the time this skill comes back up, she will be dead. We'll go ahead.
Another thing that's nice is that her skill 1, it's 100% DATA.
It's really good. You can actually bring her to hard content, and she might not just fall over.
Hey, look, she'll only fall over harder if she gets hit by a light attack.
However, she does get hit by a light attack, then she will just fall over.
Well, yeah. Sometimes, well, we pick and choose.
And so the thing is that, like, this character is really, really good now. People are saying, and I mostly agree that she can stand shoulder to shoulder with a lot of the really good attackers in Dark, and that is a very long list, given that she's up against characters like regular Gotcha, Predator, Gold Bricks. We've got Seox. Um, then there's like this really long list of um, like a really long list of limited characters, sure, but then you also she's a limited character herself. She can actually run up against
Mm-hmm.
those. It's fun, and so she kind of is where she belongs now. If you think of things a certain way,
Yeah,
if you think that Dark has too many toys to play with, they probably do.
but you can't really take away them. Otherwise, the dark players will
Yeah,
complain
and
for a
so it's
right
just,
reason.
I mean, if you want to use Olivia, use Olivia. If you don't want to use Olivia, don't use Olivia. People will not argue one way or another
So,
anymore. Like it won't be just like why this character is
yeah.
so embarrassingly boring and sad, and just you will hit her buttons one time each, and then you will death her.
Something that's also nice is that her fallen angel skill, where she has amplified attacks on
Seraphic,
when
how
she has a
much?
dark attack
30%.
up, it goes to 30% from 10%, and it used to only affect
Mm-hmm.
light enemies. Now affects anything.
But yeah, like this
Pretty good.
character pretty much got what a lot of other characters wanted. Um,
Yeah.
which is once again like I've said this a billion times. It's the theme of the whole show. The difference between fun and good. Like let's go back over this again, right? New Antheria. I would say fun and good. What would you say? New
I agree.
Percival. Not very fun. Not
Uh,
very good.
correct.
Narmea.
But it's still better.
Fun but
That's the
not good.
problem.
Is what I would say for Water Narmea. Which I'm okay with. It means that it's toys. Like I don't if I wanted to just beat every single piece of content in this game with water, I could. I have all the tools for that. But I want to use Narmea, and I will.
Correct.
Aglavale, not very fun. Okay, pretty good though.
Pretty
Thrail,
good.
good but not fun, is what I would characterize this one as.
But still
More
more
fun than
fun than
before.
before. That's a sad thing.
Yeah. Medusa,
That's a sad
definitely
thing.
fun. A lot of fun. I can't say whether it's good yet, but it seems good. But definitely fun.
I would say it's good only because you really didn't need her CA to do overlap with the same effect
Mm,
of her skill one. So you would just be deteriorating
right.
when you choose to use
And
it.
then so we have Gawain, whose change is good but not very fun. Just it's fine. He
Uh,
was he was very
it's
not
kind
fun
of bland,
before.
but yeah,
Carmelina, I would say fine, not very fun, but fine. Delaphi, jury's
yeah.
out. We're waiting for her 5-star. Yeah.
But it looks better.
Sarawell, they took away some not fun things and replaced them with things that are fine. So I would say good, and then more fun than before, but not like fun fun. You're
It's
still
still
playing
you're
Sarawell.
still playing
He's
Zero.
still doing the exact same things as before. He's there for this skill right here, Royal Curtain. The rest of it is sort of dressing for that. Then we move on to Vera. Vera, I'd say both fun and good.
Oh my god, I remember just complaining about her skill. Last radio
And
complaining
her
about
skill
her skill
4.
one
There was a lot of things that in the old design where you're just like, yeah.
and her skill three.
Like, once you stopped needing Veil, then you're just like, what am I doing with this character? And now you can just actually play her.
Skill three didn't do
Yeah.
anything.
And then
Yeah,
Olivia, both fun and good, because they took a lot of those problems where there were just like 8 turns where she didn't do anything except like die, and they turned them into actually something.
yeah.
So I would say overall, like it wasn't a perfect patch, but they made a lot of things more fun, and I'm okay with that.
I
And then
agree.
so the specialty changes, and with staff as expected, no one has said anything about that at all. No one said a dang thing.
I thought I thought she was Steph the entire time. So
That's because we played Shadowverse and we associate her with Runecraft.
with Miss, yeah,
And Thuria getting harp added to her in fire, very significant.
it makes it so you can actually have a
Yes,
fire
and
harp
it
team.
naturally teamed her with Aloidos, which we've talked about a billion times so far this show. It's a natural combination, and it's encouraged. It's extremely strong, and people are like, oh, now there's a viable harp team outside of Wind. Nice. Vera
Yeah,
with Spear, fine. Nothing really changed.
it, it changed her teammates from Kumbira.
Valentine's Melissa Bell.
Who else is Axe? And yeah, and then it just changed it to Spear with Kumbira.
Yeah.
They're still friends
So,
actually.
I mean, it's nothing changed for there. Gawain with Spear, it's fine. Like I think that it's fine because once again, there's good defensive Spear characters. Like yeah,
And
there's just
no Axe
nobody with
characters.
axes. So now he actually has buddies in Spear. You can put him with Grimnir. Grimnir, I hear, is a pretty good defensive character in both of his forms.
Kokoro's pretty good defensive character.
Prokor is a pretty good support character. It's true. By the way, there is one more axe character in Wind. It's Melissa Bell. That's it.
Oh yeah, because they added to her. I'm like, Esso?
You can pair her up with Sochier, but you won't because that team sucks. But you could. Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Anyway, Sochier and Water, having Harp, that's future proofing because like all of those Harp characters in Water are support, except for Yule, who is instead of support, she's like team buff. No, no, she's support. the entire the entirety of Water Harp is support. You got Diantha, whose CA doesn't do any damage. She gives your team multi attack and meter, and hype. Yeah, and
And
buffs
buff.
from her CA. Yule and Water gives you multi attack, chaser, debuffs, and heals.
And heals.
Wait, no, not Yule and Water. Yule and Water doesn't give you heals.
Oh, Yule,
Yule
Yule. I
and
thought you were talking about Sochi.
Sochier in Water gives you heals and a delay and like a bad mist.
They also have a bad chaser.
She has a bad chaser that requires her to CA first and then heal. And then
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I
otherwise
got
it's a
caught up
single
on.
target chaser with the single target heal.
Single target.
Sochier in Fire much better than Water Sochier is.
However, you're not going to use her with
Yeah.
Antheria
Yeah, you're right. Uh
because that takes
yeah.
away everything
Melee
from
getting added
Antheria.
to Magisa significant. Actually good. Um
I'll add to the list of
mhm.
Fire Fist characters that are
So,
good.
um the most controversial of these being Yule being changed from sword to harp. It mostly affects people who are in the intermediate stages of the game, where they, don't have that many characters to pick from necessarily, and they've gotten their first Ultima, or Atma even, and it's like the most common Atma in the game by far is sword, and so it affects like
Hmm.
right at that intermediate portion of the game where you're like, okay, I've got Fire UL. I'm working on her 5-star. She's pretty good. She gives my entire team chaser. That's nice. And you take away sword, and you're like, okay. So you just look at your notes, and you're like, I have to have like Uisis, who came out this year, so not everybody has her. Um, Aoidos, who ably takes Yule's spot in every single way. So her losing sword and gaining harp doesn't matter because Aoidos takes her spot in both of those anyway. And then Fire Katana isn't really a team that exists that much. Like,
As
and Siegfried.
Uisis, and it's
Who?
called Katana
I
Colossus.
think no. It's Sword Axe. Yeah,
What?
it's his weapon that's a katana. Don't
Well,
ask why. I don't know why.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Kolo's axe. Um, yeah, you could if you want, you can run UL in the Harp team with like the Enthuria Auidos combo, but that only adds like a little bit of chaser to a team that already has permanent chaser. And quite frankly, I feel like you can put like Akagi Miria in that spot, and your team is still going to do fine. Like that Harp team already has so much going for it that you might as well just put like a ham sandwich in there. Let's go see what Akagi Myriad does. Let's go to SR Fire
Oh my god.
Female Human. That should narrow it down. Oh my god, there's so many SRs. She's in here somewhere. There she is.
All right. Skill 1.
Oh wait, she doesn't have Harp yet.
Fit.
Oh no. What are we going to do? But hey, she provides something that the Enthuria Auidos team doesn't, which is removing a debuff. We did it. She does something that that team can't provide.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yule would still do better than that. But anyway,
Oh man.
but yeah, like so for fire, it's fine. For water, it's bad that she no longer has a sword. For wind, her wind's version for UL is actually her best version, and her getting harp takes her from a crowded weapon to an even more crowded weapon. But wind UL is good, so they'll find a place for her. hmm
It's less crowded, but still crowded.
So anyway, um, that's pretty much all of that, and then we finally covered it all. Uh, the only thing that I'll say is that I actually really appreciate the design of Violet Knight for Pride of the Ascendant. Um, restrictions breed creativity. That's a design decision that I keep going back to. It is like a design saying where, you know, I mean, let's just go back to what I was just doing. Let's just say that we only are looking at fire SSRs. I personally have 33 fire SSRs, and I'm only allowed to bring
Hmm.
3 of them. And so it's like, who am I bringing? And just stare at this and go, I don't know. But then you do things like you have to say, all right, I need fire sword. All right, this cuts down my decisions a lot. It's like Uesis does the best damage. Siegfried is a really good defensive character who also enhances skill damage. Lancelot and Vayne are freaking invincible. Sturm does her thing. You know, that kind of thing. Like you give it an identity that way. And so one of the
Hmm.
things that had been defining Earth recently is button spam. Do you remember what was that?
Especially with Lobelia. Especially with like
Lobelia
Lobelia
existing.
existing.
Kaim rewards button spam also by having a skill that just says you can press a button twice this turn.
Oh yeah, when he
hmm
gives you a card.
Um, but like a lot of what happened is that you would just sort of set that on auto and walk away because Lumberjack also awards you for hitting tons of buttons,
Hitting button twice.
and also that Lumberjack was also debuffing for you. It was healing for you. Um, because you're Earth, you had like the Xeno Harp, or you had the Hollow Sky Axe, or you had your Opus Harp, and you were just sort of set up to do everything just in the safest way possible. You had so many tools to take care of that. Um, being able to only hit 9 buttons total across per character, so it's not across every character or anything like that.
It was
This would
across
be
every
impossible.
character.
They would have to
That's
had
too
to
limiting.
redesign the fight. But as it is,
You have to have
right.
a
But as
billion
it
times
is,
less
you just
health.
it forces a certain kind of creativity where you're like, I can't just spam the same button over and over again, right? Like, um, you start sort of thinking about things like um, especially your debuffs. Like your debuffs are a problem. You're like, okay, my main character can't just hit every button in the game every 4 turns or 6 turns or whatever. You actually have to ration that out. The thing that I am sad about is that the way that this is designed, in order to get all of those debuffs going, you do have to play very fast. In order, because as soon as you've hit that blue button, you have 3 minutes to get effectiveness out of that blue button, and if you run out of time, you're SOL because you can't hit that button anymore. I'm pretty sad about that part. But in the meantime, like there are things that I really enjoy about the design of this fight. It makes you think and ration out your skill usage. It makes you think about your character choices in a different way, where it's like, I don't want a character who has to just keep hitting buttons. I want to ration that out. Like, and by the way, even though people were like, "Oh man, R.I.P. Lobelia," Lobelia's really good in this fight. No shock there. He's just really good.
Yeah. You just don't use them for the original use
Right.
that you use them for.
Anyway, so I really enjoy the design. I'm gonna be hitting Proud Plus as soon as I have time for it. It might be a while until I have time for it, but I'm up for the challenge. I enjoyed playing against the Proud version of this fight. We'll see what happens against the Proud Plus version. I've been consulting with DJ Salt and trying to figure out the best combination between challenging myself and having fun. And so right now, I think I'm going to be doing Kaim Highlander Magna with Yggdrasil Gorilla. And that sounds like it'll be a ton of fun because I haven't played with Gorilla before. I don't have my own Gorilla. I've been stuck on Magna 2 for like a year and a half. So it's a new way of playing, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Anyway, that's it. We've talked a long time about this. This has been a longer episode than normal, but thanks everybody. What'll be next week? So next week we have Xeno Ifrit 5-star.
Update. And the summon, but it's a summon. I don't know what they're gonna do with that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, we'll find out what happens then.
Yeah.
Also, by this time next week, we might have Flash Gala, and so we'll see what happens.
Good. Put something new.
All right. So, with that in mind,
Yeah.
All right. Thank you everybody for joining us. As usual, if you want to hear more about this stuff, follow me on Twitch TV /Vibrating Sheep, or you can just read news at twitter.com/Granblue_EN, or go to grandcipher.com, or this is now finally being added to YouTube on our Granblue EN YouTube channel. So thanks to Granblue EN East Coast for doing that for me. And until then, thanks everybody, and see you guys next week. Oh my God, that screen's so bright. It is summer.
It's summer.
All right, thanks everybody. Good night.